in favor of the third reading of the bill, and 4 have voted against the bill. Voted in favor of the third reading of the bill, and 4 have voted against.
A beautiful morning to you, wherever you are watching the People's Daily today. This is International Desk, live from the studios of Ogun State Television. I am Mojisola Shulaja. Today, our flashlight is on Zimbabwe, a country of about 18 million people, gained independence in 1980. Interestingly, the country that gained independence 46 years ago has so far been ruled by just 3 presidents. The third, who is the current, Emmerson Mnangagwa, is seeking tenure extension through constitutional amendment. This was signed into law on July 7, 2026. This means his tenure now ends 2030. To cap it all, it means an end to direct presidential elections, as members of parliament will now have to choose the president. The question now is this a threat to democracy or not? Joining me virtually is a constitutional lawyer from Zimbabwe, Kadzere, Kudzayi Kadzere. Good afternoon. Good morning.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you very much, and thank you for having me. And thank you so much.
Yes, we're talking about tenure elongation, and I want to begin with, did you see this coming, Zimbabweans? Did you see it coming at all?
Well, I think, Zimbabwe is one of those countries which has had quite a long history insofar as its constitutional structure is concerned. If you look at the pre-independence era, before we obtained our independence, Zimbabwe underwent quite a lot of constitutional changes and so forth, all of which were linked mostly to the manner in which power is shared, the manner in which resources are shared. But the central figure really, or the central theme really about the constitutional structure in Zimbabwe is consolidation of power. So it was always coming. It is something that we, the Zimbabweans, have always had at the back of our minds, that our constitution is very fragile, and it is open to these kind of violations. It is open to this kind of mutilations, especially where we have a group of people that are in power and who seek to consolidate their power. So from that context, yes, of power consolidation, this is something that was quite predictable.
Okay, now I'll ask, is this constitutionally right? Because I read about your constitution that section 328 of the subsection 7 of 2023 Constitution, what does that translate to, and what does that mean in this situation?
Okay, I mean, for starters, I will take you to another section of the Zimbabwe Constitution, which creates the Parliament of Zimbabwe and sets out the powers that the Parliament of Zimbabwe actually has. If you go to section 117 of the Zimbabwean Constitution, it states that the Parliament shall have legislative authority, which is the power to make laws, and it then goes on to give the Parliament of Zimbabwe the power to amend the constitution. And it states, and I will quote here, this is because this is very important. It says, the legislative authority that is conferred on the legislature confers on it the power to, and I will quote, to amend this constitution in accordance with section 328.
Okay, I'm with you.
That is what, yes, that is what section 117 says. It gives parliament the power to amend the constitution, but only in accordance with section 328. In other words, the section says, yes, parliament, if and when the need arises, you can amend the constitution, but you can only do so in accordance with section 328. Now, the problem now, which we've seen, is that section 328 was not followed.
Okay.
Because section 328 has got certain requirements that are supposed to be followed before any constitutional bill can have proper effect. Now, if you go to section 328 of our constitution, it states in subsection 7 that where you seek to extend the tenure of anyone or the period within which someone can hold public office, right?
Yes, I'm with you.
Then whatever amendment that you effect, which is to increase the length of time, because for example, Emmerson Mnangagwa, he was supposed to be in office for 5 years, and now they are seeking to extend that to 7 years. So subsection 7 of section 328 says that whatever amendment which seeks to change that term limit provision cannot apply to anyone who has held or occupied that office. So what it means is that Emmerson Mnangagwa cannot be a beneficiary of that change to the constitution.
Okay.
In other words, that change in the term limit can only apply to a president that is sworn in after Mnangagwa leaves office.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But the government now, I think because they were aware of this provision of our constitution, when they brought this amendment, they then put in a clause to say, notwithstanding section 328 subsection 7, the president and the parliament shall continue in office. That is what they said. They put in that way to say, notwithstanding whatever section 328 says, the current president and the current members of parliament will continue in office for another 2 years.
Okay. Okay.
Now, the problem with that, yes, maybe, yes, you want to...
No. Let's hear you. Let's hear you. Let's have the entire breakdown of this.
Right. The problem with that now is that if we go back to section 117 says Parliament can only amend the Constitution in accordance with section 328. It cannot amend the Constitution in any other manner. The only manner in which the Constitution can be amended is if Parliament follows what is set out in section 328. Now, for Parliament to then pass a bill that seeks to override section 328 is, in my view, unconstitutional, because already Parliament does not have the jurisdiction to do that. Parliament does not have the powers to do that. The only powers that Parliament has to amend the Constitution are those powers which are set out strictly in section 328. In other words, section 328 must be followed to the letter for whatever outcome to have any force of law. In other words, Parliament acted unconstitutionally by trying to override a clear provision of the law.
Okay, now the report has it that 60% of Zimbabweans are under 35. How are the people,
Right.
the youth in particular, how are they taking this news?
I can tell you that, in my view, Zimbabwe is more or less, at the present moment, it's more or less a big prison. It is a country which is engulfed in fear, and it is quite rare for you to find people that can express themselves. If you try to express yourself freely and you try to oppose whatever that the government is doing, you'll be very sure that you're doing that at the risk of your own safety and that of your family. So there are serious implications. So what we have now is people are quiet. They are quiet, but not because they don't have anything to say, but because they are engulfed in fear.
Okay.
So there is a blanket of fear that is engulfing the country.
So it's not about the achievements of the president now. Let's assess his achievements so far. What has it done in Zimbabwe? Are the people happy with him? Forget about tenure and elongation now, generally speaking, in terms of infrastructure, education, employment. How is it faring?
Well, to be honest with you, when Emmerson Mnangagwa came into power, he made a lot of promises to the people. Remember that Emmerson Mnangagwa came into office after the era of Robert Mugabe, where, we had Robert Mugabe. He had been in office for 37 years. People were tired of Robert Mugabe. People were tired of the corruption. People were tired of the unemployment. People were tired of inflation and all those other problems that we had. So Zimbabweans at that point, generally, they were prepared to accept anyone or anything other than Mugabe, because the belief then was that nobody could be worse than Mugabe, and that if Mugabe is gone, then anybody who would come in cannot possibly. That was the thinking then, that nobody can. The bar had been lowered so much that people were saying, look, but if Mugabe had taken us this far and lowered our standards like this, then anybody else who comes in would surely do a better job. So that was the thinking. And to be honest, there was some sort of goodwill that was attached to the coming in of Mr. Mnangagwa into power. People were prepared to give him a chance. Nobody believed that we could go back again to the era of Mugabe. And even as he took office himself, he made promises to the people of Zimbabwe that, look, I'm going to create jobs for you. I'm going to strengthen our democracy. And never again are we going to go back to the era of Robert Mugabe. So yes, at the time that he came in, that is 2017, there was some sort of goodwill. But unfortunately, as time went on, he began to associate himself with corrupt people. Certain corrupt people were seen surrounding the president. Nothing has been done about corruption. We've not seen any major arrests with respect to corruption, with respect to repression as well. We had, repression has continued. Dissenting voices have continued to be suppressed. People have continued to be arrested. People continue to be beaten up should they try to speak out. We've had people being killed. In fact, people being killed. We saw people being killed following the 2018 election. We also saw the 2023 election itself with, again, people being killed during the election. So he has failed to really, implement the democracy that he promised the people of Zimbabwe. And economically, the people are not better off than they were. really no meaningful employment has been created, and by and large, most of the people in Zimbabwe are surviving on the info.
Okay. Oh, okay. Kutai Kadzere, a constitutional lawyer based in Zimbabwe, has told us about the tenure elongation by President Mnangagwa, and he actually said, aside the fact that it is not constitutionally right, the youth or the Zimbabweans cannot actually talk about this because they live in fear. Kudzai, good to have you back.
Thank you.
Now, let's move to the other part of the amendments, which said it is now members of the parliament that will choose a president. What does this mean for the future of Zimbabwe?
Okay, I think that is one of the most obnoxious provisions of this. I mean, apart from the term extension, the removal of the powers vested in the people of Zimbabwe to directly elect their own president, to me, is quite catastrophic. It has got far-reaching consequences. Right now, in Zimbabwe, there are more than 16 million people, 16 million citizens, and to reduce the presidential election to just 300 members of parliament, it is quite disastrous. It is quite disastrous, to say the least. The people have lost their power. Nobody believes in the institution of parliament, that parliament can do the right thing. There are no checks and balances. The president continues as an executive president. He is not accountable to parliament. He is not accountable to anyone. And so it's just a further consolidation of power. The right to vote itself is contained in our Bill of Rights. It says that each and every Zimbabwean has the right, freedom of political choice. Now, if the amendment is taken in its context, it means that the ordinary citizens are not going to have a say on who becomes the president, and that power is now concentrated in the hands of a few. Now, if you look at the way in which the members of parliament in Zimbabwe are elected, we have 210 constituencies across the country, and the manner in which those constituencies have been structured is in such a way that it's akin to what we know as gerrymandering, where you have ZANU-PF controlling and winning certain constituencies, despite the fact that it will be having less number of votes in those constituencies. Right. By this I mean that in rural areas where ZANU-PF knows that it has a bit of support, they can create a constituency which has got roughly about plus or minus 18 to 20,000 voters. But when you go to the urban areas where there is a lot of opposition against ZANU-PF, some constituencies are as big as up to 40,000. So what it means is that you can have a member of parliament who goes to parliament representing 20,000 people, but at the same time, there's an urban member of parliament as well who comes in representing about 40,000 people, and they will have an equal vote. So there is gerrymandering there. The constituencies are not created equally when you have a look at the demographics of the population. Basically, this is the silencing of the voice of the people of Zimbabwe. The people would have preferred a situation where they continue to elect their president directly, and that these members of parliament surely cannot decide on behalf of the whole of the country, There is no trust in that institution. Nobody trusts that members of parliament will do the right thing. So I think it has got far-reaching consequences.
Okay, what is the judiciary, the hope of the people, doing about this? I learned the case is in court already. Are you hopeful that judgments will be delivered at the end of the day?
Well, if the judges are going to uphold their oath of office, if they are going to look at the Constitution as it is without any bias, then I'm sure they must uphold the Constitution. Because if you look at Section 328, and if you look at it in conjunction with Section 117, Section 117 says Parliament can only amend the Constitution in accordance with what Section 328 says.
Okay.
And this amendment seeks to override Section 328. So I believe it's a very straightforward issue, and the judges must do the right thing.
Now, let's quickly go back to the case or the issue of members of parliament selecting and picking a president. Is there any likelihood that Mnangagwa will still stay in office beyond 2030?
Well, it's a question of, because right now Mnangagwa is finishing his last term. This is his second term, and the Constitution says that anyone who served cannot contest for elections again. So it means that if this law is to be implemented as it is today, then Mnangagwa has to leave office in 2030.
Okay.
In other words, the election which was supposed to happen in 2028 is going to happen in 2030.
Okay.
Yes, and then a new crop of MPs will then be elected, and then they will then elect a new president for the 7-year term.
What about the members? Can they just unpick him? Can they select him? Can they choose him with this amendment? That's the question I'm asking. I think, no, I don't know, they cannot. Okay.
They cannot do that. They cannot do that because he has already served these 2 terms.
Okay.
So what it would mean is that they would have to be a new president who can only serve for 14 years, 2 7-year terms, and then he leaves.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, now let's just wrap up with your own take generally as a constitutional lawyer. Let's wrap up with what you have to say about this. Your thoughts.
Well, I think at the end of the day, the people of Zimbabwe have been betrayed. If you remember very well, there was an interview that was done on CNN. President Mnangagwa was interviewed by Christian Amanpour, and he was asked whether he was going to abide by the 2-term provision and whether he was going to leave office after completing his 10 years in office. And with a straight face, he gave an assurance to the people of Zimbabwe that he was going to abide by the letter and the spirit of the Constitution and leave office. When talk began that there were plans to extend his term in office, he called members of the press to his office and he addressed the nation, and he again assured the nation that he was not going to be persuaded to extend his term, and that he respected the people of Zimbabwe, and that he would allow the people of Zimbabwe to choose a successor. Now, with what has happened, we can clearly see that this is a very deceitful man. He is dishonest, and there is no trust at all in him from the people of Zimbabwe. So at the moment, the people of Zimbabwe are simply captives. There's nothing we can do. we have been put under captivity, and we would certainly need help for us to get out of this situation. So there is currently no hope for the people of Zimbabwe. There is despondency and despair everywhere.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. And I just want to add that it could be an opportunity for him to complete his ongoing projects. Do you agree with that or not?
Well, I do not agree, because remember, it is us, the people of Zimbabwe, who pay taxes, and it is those taxes that are then used by the government to undertake projects. It is not his personal money. Whatever projects that he's doing, he is not using his personal money. He is using the money of which belongs to the people of Zimbabwe who pay taxes. So whoever is in occupation, whoever is president, can always complete those projects or start their own projects. Those projects are not personal to him. They are projects by the government of Zimbabwe, which he is leading, but certainly it has nothing to do with him specifically. Those projects can always be completed by anybody and anyone,
all right,
including myself. If I'm lucky enough to become the president, I can also complete those projects.
I like that. Okay, thank you so much,
Yes.
Kudzai Kadzere, constitutional lawyer in Zimbabwe. We appreciate you sharing your thoughts on the program today.
You're welcome, and thank you for having me.
Okay, and that wraps it on International Desk today. Don't forget, the program continues same time next week. And before next week, the world watches what happens next in Harare, Zimbabwe. Thank you for being a part of the program. Stay tuned.